Hey gang, it's JC, and this is the Daily Dose for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2012, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Clayton. Great television archives up top. We have our eye candy feature right below, and in the corner, yesterday's rock and roll poll question was this: what should be done about the recent trouble in the U City Loop? And a lot of you believe, 42% as a matter of fact, that they should step up security somewhat, but don't go overboard. That seems to be the message here. It's like, don't ruin a good thing. 38% of you say dramatically increase police presence and impose a hard, tough new curfew, even if it temporarily hurts business. This is when you start getting into a dicey area here. You cannot go overboard on this. 12% said don't do much at all. Saturday's incident was isolated and the loop is actually pretty safe. And 8% of you want to deputize everybody with a nose ring. The takeaway from this story and these results basically is that only 12% think that the U City Loop is a safe place. So whether it's true or not, and it doesn't appear to be true, that the U City Loop is an unsafe place, the perception right now is that it is. And as we all know, perception can be sometimes more difficult to deal with than reality. So, City of St. Louis, U City Loop, Joe Edwards, the mayor, Jeff Rainford, all those people got a PR issue here. Because if you look at the stats, if you believe the statistics, then really what happened on Saturday night was a relatively isolated case. The last big dust-up they had was like a year ago. So, you got a PR problem. All right, let's completely shift gears here today. What do you say? The new Three Stooges movie is coming out a week from Friday. What are you anticipating? Here are your choices. A, the Stooges were great, so I'll probably see it. B, I've seen the trailer and some of the commercials, and I don't have a good feeling. C, this was a bad idea from the start. D, I never liked the Stooges, so this doesn't interest me. Or E, why you, I oughta. So those are your choices. Please answer in the corner. We'll have results for you tomorrow. Let's start with some movie reviews here. I didn't see War Horse. It's coming out on video today. And that's a Steven Spielberg thing, and I heard that it dragged and it was too long and stuff like and overly sentimental. I did not see it. I probably will get around to seeing War Horse. But let's talk about one that I did see, and that is We Bought a Zoo. You have to understand that for a lot of people, when you get a movie that is coming out by this guy, Cameron Crowe, who did, was the inspiration behind Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and did really, really good movies like Jerry Maguire and Almost Famous, and, even Vanilla Sky, which I didn't get. I really liked Elizabethtown, even with its flaws, and I think it's a very flawed movie, but I still think there's wonderful things to see in Elizabethtown. There's great scenes in Elizabethtown, but it does meander, and I'm not crazy about the ending, and Kirsten Dunst might not have been the best choice and everything like that. Alec Baldwin has a scene in Elizabethtown that's great. And if you'd recently lost a parent, it can be a numbing movie to see. We're talking about Elizabethtown. So, much the way it was when Albert Brooks was releasing a movie, there's a big chunk of the country that got very, very excited, when Woody Allen puts out a movie or when Cameron Crowe puts out a movie. So when he made We Bought a Zoo, it's like, okay, well, let's see what happens here. And it's sort of based on a British story, and you probably know this whole thing about some guy lost his wife and decided to move his kids to a zoo, and they bought a zoo, and they had all sorts of trouble. So this one has Matt Damon buying the zoo, and you got Scarlett Johansson and Thomas Hayden Church and a bunch of other people, and this thing is a wreck. It's just so depressing to realize that Cameron Crowe, geez, I hope he hasn't lost his touch. He broke up his marriage with Nancy Wilson of Heart a couple of years ago, and you just think to yourself, geez, I hope that was not his muse, and without his muse, he can't work. I hope this is just a hiccup, and this is not reflective of this is all he's got left in the tank. This was one of my nominees for the worst movie of last year. We Bought a Zoo. Even the animals are boring in this movie, and let's just leave it at that. All right, the cast and crew of Community. We did the story yesterday here on the Daily Dose about Chevy Chase getting into a big blow-up with the producer of this thing, a guy by the name of Dan Harmon, who is the creator. Well, it turns out now that the cast and the crew are supporting Chevy Chase, and they think that the producer is on the wrong side of the story. So watch this space, and NBC hasn't even said right now whether or not Community is going to get a season pickup. We'll see. Alec Baldwin, new girlfriend, Hilaria Thomas, which I think is like, sounds like her name is hilarious. Hilaria Thomas, they're engaged. She's 54, she's 28. Bruce Willis, new daughter. He's 57, she's 33. Not the daughter, the wife. Dumb and Dumber is getting a sequel. We just heard that Anchorman is coming back, and now Dumb and Dumber. This is going to be with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. Now, technically, I guess you could say this is the third movie in the series because you had that Dumb and Dumberer when Harry met Lloyd, but the studio didn't have anything to do with that. And I'm sorry, the studio, it was a whole studio thing. The Farrelly brothers had nothing to do with it, and certainly Carrey and Daniels weren't involved. So let's see what happens with this one. If you love Adele and you're waiting for a new album, you could be waiting a while. 2 years, as a matter of fact, although there could be a new song coming out sometime later this year. Adam Sandler's production company is doing a remake of the 1987 movie with Mark Harmon called Summer School. No word whether Sandler will be in that movie. April is supposedly National Humor Month, whatever. So the dating site Zoosk.com did a survey on humor in relationships, and 74% of women and 87% of men say humor is an aphrodisiac, and people say a sense of humor is 5 times more important than good looks. But 3 in 5 women say they've had their feelings hurt when a partner went too far with a joke, and so have 2 out of 5 men. Honey, for a fat girl, you don't sweat much, that sort of stuff. So, and by the way, scatological humor and the wrong kind of humor, that sort of stuff, is as much of a turn on as the effective kind of humor is, as they said, an aphrodisiac. Last year, Burger King fell behind Wendy's to become America's number 3 burger chain for the first time. So what's their big plan to reclaim their spot? Directly copy number 1. Over the next year, they're going to basically mimic McDonald's. They're going to add 10 new menu items, including fruit smoothies, snack wraps, chicken strips, and premium salads, all of which you might recognize from McD's. Geraldo Rivera has apologized for his hoodie comment so far, though he is still unrepentant on the mustache. Hackers may have gotten access to over 1 million credit card numbers. Well, in this economy, 98% of the cards are maxed out, so good luck with that. All right, Letterman tonight should be a good show because Keith Olbermann, I had an itch. Boy, it was way down deep in there, too. I really had to get in there. I had the hives yesterday. I was taking antihistamines and Xanax and all this other stuff because my skin was breaking. I was itching like a son of a bitch. So hopefully that's over with. Oh, stress, pressure, people that just drive you insane. Letterman tonight is Keith Olbermann, who was recently released from Current TV. He says he's going to sue. Ought to be interesting. Let's see what happens. 34 years ago today, in 1978, it was a big day for me because at the 50th Annual Academy Awards, Woody Allen won for Best Director for Annie Hall, also won Best Picture. Diane Keaton won Best Actress for her role in it. This is my all-time #1 favorite movie, Annie Hall, so that was a big, big day for me, 1978, 34 years ago today. And 16 years ago today, I've talked about this before, in 1996, the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, was finally arrested. He grew up. Now, he was living in a cabin out in Montana or something. They got him with no running water and no outhouse or go to an outhouse. But this guy grew up on the far south side of Chicago, actually the southern suburbs, about 2 miles from my high school girlfriend. I may have brushed elbows with the Unabomber at some point, not even known about it. All right, speaking of way back in the day, in the last episode of Mad Men, you saw that they wanted to convince the Rolling Stones to write a jingle for Heinz Baked Beans, and some people said, come on, isn't that a little bit of a stretch? I know you're trying to recapture the 60s and everything, but that was a little on the implausible side. Well, guess what? It wasn't, because in 1963, Mick and the Boys actually recorded a jingle for Rice Krispies. And the company used it in a 1964 TV commercial. Did not run here in the States. It aired in the UK, but courtesy of your buddy JC and Eye Candy, which is right below what you're looking at right now, you get to watch that commercial from 1964, the Rolling Stones singing for Rice Krispies. JC's Eye Candy today. All right, Trish and I will see you every day from noon until 3 on the Big 550 KTRS. That's where we are every day. And answer our Three Stooges question in the corner on our rock and roll poll. And let's see what we come back with. In the meantime, that's it. JC's Daily Dose for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2012. a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Clayton. And in the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.